Alright, hello and welcome to your Lab 3. So I'm going to show you some things that you'll need to know, or places that you'll need to go, I guess is the better answer, to learn about how to implement some things. So the first part of this lab is going to be super simple. You'll write a timer.cpp file that keeps track of the time between a start call and an end call. It's essentially exactly what I did in class with that ctime header. Okay, so you'll time binary search and linear search and figure out that binary search is always the way to go. Okay, so that's the first part. And then in the latter part of this lab, there will be 5 separate files that are all short, so it's not going to be horrible, but they will teach you how to use these different container classes that C++ has and that we'll learn about later in this class. So I kind of encourage you to use this order, but I think any order would work. So yeah, you'll implement all the comments in each file, and let me show you how to use the list container class because they're all kind of the same. So you can go into c++.com, I've given you links, and you can click on the list class, and you can see how to make a list. It's just like a vector almost. Here are all of its constructors, and usually you'll just scroll to the bottom and find the example. That'll be the most helpful thing. So in order to make a list, I gotta include the list header, and then also I have to declare a list. So I say list, and then the type of the list I want. Let's say it holds doubles. I'll call it L. And then if I want to start adding stuff to the list, well, I can set it equal to things if I wanted to. But I can add to the front with push front, and you can read all the comments here. Add to the back of the list, so I could push to the front, and that will add one thing to the list. And we can click that to see what it does. Push front, just one value. Okay, so I can say l.push front, maybe 3.14. I can push to the front again. I don't know, 5.67. And then say I wanted to print out the front of this list, and I'll tell you in the comments exactly what I want you to do. It doesn't matter that if you don't know what front means, but these are all member functions. So I can say front and get that thing with this function call, or I guess this method call, and print it out. L.front, new line, for example. And so this should print, if this was the last thing I put on the front, it should print 5.67. And oops, let's see here. That was probably the answers for this one, but that's okay. I'm essentially giving you the answer for list anyways. I want this one. Let me show you this running really quick. So this is on my desktop. So it'll print 5.67 because that's the front of this list, whatever that means. And then I'll want you to iterate through the list from beginning to end. So it's like you put something at the front, and you put another thing at the front. So there's kind of an order going on here. We're holding a lot of stuff at once. So I want you to look up how to use these things called iterators. You can look it up on this website. You can look it up on the internet anywhere else. But here is the relevant example, and this should be exactly the same for pretty much every container class I ask you to talk about. So you don't have to use standard : but you got to use : iterator. Okay, so this is how I'm going to print out this list. For list double iterator, you can call it whatever, equals l.begin. While it's not equal to l.end, keep going. It kind of works exactly like a normal variable. And then it is like this iterator thing. It's kind of like a pointer. And so you can see out $it and a new line. Or maybe I'll use spaces and then a new line at the very end. Okay, so I just really want you to read these documentation files and steal all the code that they use in their examples, in essence. This is printing out the list in order from beginning to end. I just want you to get used to typing this code, and it's all been done for you on these on these pages here. Okay, so it's just your job to find it, and yeah, that's essentially the idea. It's going to print out this list in order, and so you'll get an intuitive understanding of what this thing called a list is, what this thing called a stack is, and I think that'll be really helpful for when we start talking about them. So I made this thing called L that I'm calling a list. I put 3.14 at the front of it, which I guess means that there's this thing with 3.14 inside of it. And then in the front of that I put 5.67. So there's this thing that I made that held 5.67, then 3.14. And we just went through it in that order and noticed that, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Okay, so your intuition might not always match up for a few of these, like the priority queue. That'll be fun to discover. But in essence, all I want you to do is look at the documentation files on a website, maybe the one that I linked, maybe another, and just copy and paste a whole lot of stuff. So get a feeling for how to write this kind of code and what it does for you. Okay, so that is, I guess, all I want to show you there. And watch out for the spaces. I think the auto grader will yell at you if you don't have the right amount of spaces. So just turn it in early, see if the white space is correct. That's all. So yeah, that's all I got for you. Good luck with this. It shouldn't take too long. This is essentially just reading these documentation files. So you got this, and I will see you later.